ดีค่ะสวัสดีนะคะ Welcome back all of you here to our International Conference of PDPA Key Global Trends in Data Privacy. Thank you so much for joining us in this afternoon session. And we are going to have the topic of AI impact on data privacy. And of course, we are honored to have our morning moderator up on the stage here one more time to lead this topic. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Assistant Professor Dr. Pirapat Chok Suwathana Sakun. Please welcome.
All right. It's always hard to sit down and talk after lunch, right? So good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back again. And this afternoon is still very interesting. The topic is the relationship and the nexus between two very important notions in our modern society. The artificial intelligence on one hand and the privacy on the other hand. And these two things always go together. I think we know that we are in the era in which some of the big companies sort of admit that we are running out of data, in the sense that we have trained our large model by all the data we can scrape from the internet. And a big portion of that is pretty much the personal data. And that is one bit that is very, very relevant to all of us sitting here. And I think we are getting collected more and more data every day to our exposure to all of these technologies that we are using, not just on our smartphones, but with all these devices around us. So the data that we get collected, get used, would be even more and more as well. And at the same time, what is even more, I would say, worrisome is our understanding. Our understanding of how the data are being used, our understanding of how the data are being shared, and the potential risk that could follow from the usage of our data. Well, that is something that are more and more difficult to really get your head around. So with all these things, that is why today actually quite a good day. It's the day that marks the first day that one of the newest regulation of the EU, which is the EU AI regulation, will be published in the European Official Journal, which would mark a very starting point, and it will come into force on the 1st of August. And that it will start its journey in the implementation, the full enforcement process, which will take roughly 2 years after this. So, as you can see, people are moving, people are actively trying to navigate the way that artificial intelligence will be regulated to the extent that all the stakeholders, all the people, all the citizens are still being protected. And this is very interesting. Because if you look into the AI regulation, you see that those activities, those usage of AI, you never regulate technology, you regulate the activities. One of which is called the high-risk AIs. And the obligation that follow, one of which is very important, is that you have to ensure that the privacy is well protected. So it's go hand in hand, and data is pretty much everything. It's the energy. It's the energy that feeds into this machine, if you like, that make it work, that give lives to it. So today, joining with me is a group of panel who have had, deep experience in the field of artificial intelligence and the regulation. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce our speakers of today afternoon session on the relationship between AI and privacy. So first and foremost, may I invite Dr. Prinya Homanek, the committee in the supervisory board of PDPA Thailand, He is a Thai cybersecurity, cyber resilience, data protection, data privacy, data governance, and digital trust expert. He is currently the chairman of Executive Committee at ASIS Professional Center and Cybertron Company Limited. He's also a committee member of the National Cybersecurity Committee and the Supervisory Board of the Office of the Personal Data Protection Commission and the Extraordinary Commissioners considering the Draft Personal Data Protection Act and Cybersecurity Act. And second one, may I invite Ms. Patrapan Paiboon. Ms. Patrapan Paiboon is a partner in the intellectual property and technology practice at Baker & McKenzie Limited. Kun Patrapan Paiboon is the partner of the practice, and she has extensive experience in advising on matters involving the intersection of intellectual property and technology laws, which of course including AI and digital privacy, and data privacy, apologies. And last but not least, may I invite Dr. Uzair Javed. He's a big round of applause, yes. So Dr. Uzair Javed is the CEO and a co-founder of a company called BetterData.ai, which is a company focused on enterprise synthetic data generation using generative AI and privacy engineering. So just by the background, that is pretty much the briefest version that I could come up with. I think we are having a really, really insightful panel with me today. So I would just let you sort of introduce yourself a little bit further. Just tell the audience about what you've been doing, what you're up to, and what is your experience, especially when it involves this AI and privacy, please. May I start with you, Dr. Brinya?
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much for introducing me. I'm very glad to be here again in the PDPC conference. This time it's an international conference, right? I think it's the first time that we do the international conference, and we discuss about a very hot topic that Ajahn Yok mentioned, about the AI and privacy. I think in the name of the supervisory board of the PDPC, I've been a seminar in Europe last year about 8 countries, and they quite serious about the AI will be invasive to our personal privacy. And that's why they're going to, in the level of the human right, that AI have done for us. Let's say we talk something and finally the Facebook show the advertising, what we talk at home with my wife or my kid. And it's very close to everyone in this room that the AI power, the technology, they can invade into our privacy. And that's why this topic, thank you, Ajahn Yok, for building this topic to discuss. I think we should share in the term of I'm the member of the supervisory board of PDPC, acting as the regulators, and sometimes I'm acting as the victim also, because I'm the victim of the data breach many times. That I think we can share today among our speakers and audience that how can we further with the AI and that our personal privacy.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you so much, PDPC, and also Ajahn Yok, for asking me to join this section. Very interesting, very new topic. In the past, we're talking about AI for quite a while. At Baker McKenzie, I've been helping on some of the AI work that already seen so far. It's growing up so fast, and the topic becomes so complicated and also unexpected as well. We talk about something very common like liability or protect the personal data, but then actually when we see the actual work that coming up, it's getting more complicated than that. And I'm glad that I got to share this with everyone on the panel. And so any questions afterwards, I'm welcome to that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. So just to take a moment, I wanted to thank PDPC as well as the organizing committee to invite me and have me here. So thank you once again for that. My name is Uzair. So I have a PhD in data security and privacy engineering. I got that in early 2021 in Singapore, and ever since I have been running my startup called Better Data. So at my company, we mainly work with data teams in enterprises like banks, insurance companies, healthcare, government institutions to address their needs around data privacy as well as machine learning applications. So I won't bore you with the details right now, but as we talk, I'll paint a bit more color on what we are doing. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. I think we're gonna learn more about you and your work. I mean, all of you, while we discuss. Okay, the first thing, I think I would like to make it clear about the risk, because let's talk about we sort of know for a fact that the utilization of artificial intelligence and new breed of it has been introduced lately as well, and it seems like adoption rate has been skyrocketing. At the same time, we are here talking about privacy, and I just would like to ask you to sort of get a little bit into detail to sort of to make us all understand a little better what sort of risk that is associated with the rise of AI in particular. Yeah, so may I invite you, Dr. Prinya, to begin with. Yeah.
Showing my slide, please. Okay, the topic that I speak in many countries now is about the rising of the generative AI, right? Because just a few weeks ago that NVIDIA is the world #1 largest market cap in the world. Because Facebook, Microsoft, Google, they have to pay NVIDIA for the hardware AI computing. But now the Microsoft and Apple, they're coming back into the top third of the world. And I think the rise of Gen AI, not only the technology, but the thing that we discuss around the world is what we call AI governance and responsible AI. It is very important, not just the good buzzword, but we need to implement it too. Okay. I will talking about the digital risk that I think now we move from the IT risk to cyber risk, and now ISACA World Economic Forum, they're moving into what we call the digital risk. And the cyber risk is one of the 7 digital risks that we're facing right now. It's a multifaceted risk and multi-stakeholder environment. The cyber risk and resiliency risk, I think is the first one. And the second one is a third party or supply chain and cloud risk. We are using cloud right now, right? Cloud have problem, we have problem also. The compliance risk, the PDPC, PDPA compliance, cyber law compliance, and fourth one is what Ajahn Yok mentioned, the Gen AI risk and advanced technology risk. That sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know about this. And they can move into what we call reputational risk, data privacy risk from the data breach, ransomware data breaches, until the talent and workforce risk. We have not enough people to work with the generative AI era right now. I will focus on the number 4, the generative AI risk. Before we talking about the AI governance, I want to show the thought and the framework that we should focus on. Now we talk about the CG code or corporate governance. Inside, we're talking about IT governance. Yesterday, I go to the PTT ceremony about ISO 38500 IT governance. Inside IT governance is AI governance and data governance also. And today, we focus on the yellow circle, the AI governance that we want to focus on, right? 8 countries in 6 months talking about the generative AI, cybersecurity, privacy risk. And you know that all the listed company and big company around the globe, we're talking about the sustainable development goal, right? Our Prime Minister went to Davos in New York to have a meeting with the UN people. I've been in a UN conference in Geneva last year that we talking about how we use AI and IT for the organization and what we call Global Digital Compact. In a Global Digital Compact, they have the 8 mandate that answer the question of the Dr. Yok about AI. One of the 8 Global Digital Compact is we need to regulate AI or not, regulating AI. And at the same time, we need a data protection also. It must do it together because the privacy risk from data need to be protected, but it's not protected because the data breach. And sometimes it's not data breach, but the platform, they collect our data without our consent, and they do something with our data. Let's say I talk to my wife, and sometimes the advertising pop up. It is not a crime, right? Not a crime. But in Europe, in GDPR, on the GDPR regulator, they find a big platform that they need to pay the fee for invading our privacy. We can call data is not protect, but they said they collect our data and they anonymize our data to be, let's say, Ajahn Parinya is Mr. X, Ajahn Yok is Mr. Y. But finally, they can send advertising to me and Ajahn Yok because I'm the X and Y. It is in Thai because he's Don Chai. and they try to find a way to invade the people's privacy, right? That's why we're talking about another 2 topics, applying human rights online and accountability for the online content. And that's why the 8th mandate of the UN Global Digital Compact, it has been released in last year. This is a detail that you can find, you can Google it, right? You can Google it, Global Digital Compact, and you can see about how to regulate the generative AI. But they still use the wording AI, it's actually generative AI, but now they're talking about, let's say, number G, agile governance of AI and other emerging technology. And we have another topic and another question to balance between the benefit of the AI and the risk of the AI, right? And we can talk about this later. In summary, I think not spend too much time, right? I think our history and evolution of the cyber into 5 era. Right now we are in the 5th gen era that we call cyber dominant era, that the platform or even the hacker, the criminal, they try to what we call hack mind, to send the advertising, to pop up what you need to see, right? Before 10 years ago, we buy the newspaper to read in the news, right? But now the news coming to us when we move to social media. And that's why in the era of the cyber dominant, I think AI played a major role. We can call AI to IA. AI, everyone know in this room. IA, what we call information advantage. It's a US defense doctrine that talking about how to manipulate the information in the cyber world. We can talk about this later. That's why sometimes the hacking mind and manipulate the mind. In summary, as Dr. Yok mentioned, the AI governance need to be implemented and the law, the legal in Europe about how to regulate AI. Because right now it's not digital transformation, but it's an AI transformation. And SDG, ESG must coming with the GDC also. And in the near future, I think not more than 6 years, we can move into what we call AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, that maybe the AI can be more advanced. Right now, if you go to the website called Hugging Face, you saw, I think, more than 300,000 or 500,000 LLM technology that they change every day. If I download today, tomorrow they change. They change up very, very quickly. That's why AI governance is very important. And for the global risk report of World Economic Forum, they said the risk of the AI-generated misinformation is a number 2 from the extreme weather. And in another next 2 years, it will be number 1. That AI can manipulate the people, the deepfake, everything. Cyber attack moving into number 5. And that's why now the misinformation, disinformation, AI-generated fake content will be the number 1 threat to the human around the globe that we need to consider, and we need to do something with this kind of technology that maybe evade our privacy. Okay, I think in my session, I come back into the first slide that generative AI risk is one of the 7 risks that we need to focus on. ขอบคุณครับท่านนายกครับ
Well, thank you very much. Is anyone would like to jump in here to talk about privacy risk associated with the AI?
Sure, thanks. Excuse me. So I think it's a very big subjective topic. I'll try to make it a bit easier to digest. So essentially when we talk about AI, we have 3 core elements. The first one is data. The second one is compute. And the third one is algorithm. Now let me walk backwards here. When we talk about algorithms these days, everything or anything you need can be found open source. So it's not a very big problem because, for example, we have Meta, previously known as Facebook. They spent $100 million, or more than that actually, to pre-train their Llama 3 LLM. And now you can use it as well, free of cost. So algorithm-wise, things are in a good position. Second is compute. So NVIDIA, as the panelist was mentioning, is the most is the company with the highest market cap in the world right now. They are the providers of compute. We have AMD, we have Intel, we have Huawei. We have a lot of cloud providers. You pay for it, you get it, end of story. So no significant challenges there as well. But the main bottleneck is on data. So without data, there is no AI. So there is no need for compute or algorithm. So I'm just going to talk about or zoom in on the aspect of data here. So when we talk about data, we have actually 2 levels of information. One is your public data. The other one is private data. So public data is something that, let's say, we can Google, we can see on internet, someone left a review about a restaurant, we can read that. It's public information, easily accessible, no problem. So that's all public data that we can see. The second one is private data. So private data, for example, we use bank cards. Banks have our transactional data. So this is private to us, this is private to them. They're not going to release it on the open internet for anyone to use. So because there are challenges because of privacy as well as regulations there. Now, when we talk about the risks of data on AI, public data has a risk around IP. So you may have used ChatGPT right now. You may have also seen OpenAI is being sued, or they are in a lot of lawsuits right now by companies who said they used my data from my internet or my website, but they never paid me any royalty. So we are seeing IP lawsuits over and over, again and again with these big companies. So in the next 10 years, when we look at public data, IP concern is something that will grow or amplify. My fellow panelist, I think, will shed a bit more light about the IP considerations. But when we talk about private data, this is where privacy really becomes a big challenge. Now, privacy, when we look at privacy, my belief is if there were no regulations, then there is no problem. Anyone can use any data, make a lot of money, end of story, no problem whatsoever. But when we look back at 2018, we had the General Data Protection Regulation up and coming, which was enacted in May 2018. When it was enacted, it affected upwards of 28 million businesses globally. So that was the impact. And fast forward to today, 7 years later, we are seeing the same effect in Asia Pacific right now. So Southeast Asia or ASEAN countries, we have the umbrella term, the PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act. Now, whatever these regulations say, I mean, they say a lot of things, but one main aspect is they mandate or require companies who have customer data to protect it. Now, this is what they say. They are neutral to technologies. They just tell you, you have to do this. When it comes to how to do this, that's where it's quite a bit of a gray area. And that's where privacy technologies take the spotlight in terms of remaining compliant with privacy laws, as well as appreciating the privacy of your users. So zooming out, going forward, I strongly believe when we talk about AI, the foundations will be built on good or better data. And data, if it is in public, then you have to deal with IP concerns. If data is in the private domain, then you have to deal with privacy concerns. Thank you.
All right, you want to jump in as well? Please?
Yeah, but probably from the legal side.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about risks of AI and then data, then I think the key that we've been experiencing is on the training data. So if you're going to develop any AI and doing the data training, probably you put, scraping the data from any source, and then it could still be personal data. And in that sense, the next question is compliance issues. Again, the data law is not only in Thailand, but also around the world. Therefore, it's a question of global compliance, how you're going to deal with the data. I think many companies talking about how about we doing anonymized data, so therefore it's no longer personal data and would not subject to the regulated law on privacy. But I think the nature of AI is quite different in the sense that AI collect data from many sources, and once it's put together, some way, somehow, it's possible that it can still identify a person. Therefore, one of the risks is even you saying that you are doing the anonymized data no longer can identify a person, but eventually it still may be so. So I think that's the risk that could happen as well. And the experience also surrounding around the legal basis. So if you're going to do the AI data training or even the output and use that data, what legal basis for that one? So consent, legitimate interest. We've seen some company rely on either one of these. And that's something the risk of from the legal perspective that Emma would like to share.
Right. I think that's quite interesting. You sort of remind me of one of the biggest concerns, if you may, is repurposing. It's actually one of the very, very big issues when it comes to AI and privacy risk. And one of the usage is, it would come to what Dr. Priya said about these. For those like more traditional sense of the AI, basically, there is another set of threat or risk. But when it comes to this sort of generative, one of the threat that we are talking about was the misinformation, which is really big thing as well. So I think we sort of seen this kind of picture that there are different kinds of risks that we might get exposed to. And let's talk, and I think one thing that we probably need to talk about is the mitigation as well. And let's zoom in this mitigation, because the easiest way and probably the nearest to all of us as people who work with data is in the organization itself. So this is a point that how would you, bearing in mind, no matter what the constraints, how the constraints are imposed, it could be by regulation, or it could be just the ethics, or because of the pressure from the market, because your customers sort of see the importance of it and sort of see the value in it, and you need to deliver that value. But you, within the organization, how can you sort of strike a balance between, on one hand, you still need to develop the model, train the data, and generate and create this kind of like artificial intelligence or the model or the services. But at the same time, you sort of need to protect the privacy rights as well. So let's talk about within organization first. What kind of things that you have to think about when you need to strike this balance between two parts of it?
So I can take it first. When we talk about data breaches, for example, on a global level, the majority of the reasons that they happen is because real data is in places where it should not be, or someone has access to it who should not. As simple as that. Now here we have two vectors or two perspectives to reflect on. One is access, who is accessing the data and how that is defined. And the second one is data itself. So within organizations, again, everything is based on risk, according to their risk management level or threshold. I'm not going to bore you with that. The structure is pretty much there. But when it comes to the controls that they can require or put in place are twofold. The first one is the infrastructure itself. So who has access to the data, who has not, and for those who have access, for how long they have access to the data for. So it revolves around access, and you can define all sorts of level. You can require two-factor authentication, you can require 10-factor authentication as well. And you can do that actually. But the second layer for us that we look on is the data level itself. Now imagine if someone who is not authorized to access some data, but they still have access to it. Can we rely on their honesty to not do the bad thing or to only do the right thing? We don't know that. Someone has a bad day, they find something they shouldn't be looking at, they can misuse it, they can abuse it, or they can voluntarily or involuntarily put it somewhere that it should not be. So on the data level, that's where when we talk about privacy technologies, the goal is you transform the data in a structure that no one can use it and say this data belongs to this person or this group of people. And as long as you can do that, you ensure guarantee or safety not only on the infrastructure level, but on the data level as well. So when we look at enterprises, in the last 3 years that we have been talking to them globally, data teams in particular, the infrastructure, the legal contracts, the clauses, everything is like by the book, but most of things happen because of lack of awareness. People don't know and they commit things. And second is the data itself is real when it doesn't have to be. So one way to handle these concerns is everything about the infrastructure has to do with cybersecurity or security practices. But when we look at data on the data level, then there are privacy technologies that can help you transform it in a way that even if someone unauthorized to access the data, once they have access, they won't still be able to tell who this data belongs to. And as long as that doesn't happen, then the company has no legal accountability. Because going forward, it's one thing to say, I trust my employees not to do the bad thing or to always do the right thing. But the problem there is humans behave in a probabilistic manner. We don't behave in a binary manner. Like nothing is 0 and 1, it's all probability. Again, like if I'm having a bad day, I'm in a function that is critical to the data infra in a company, I may mess up easily because I'm not in the right state of my mind. So why rely on humans when you can rely on technology where you have binary guarantees or absolute guarantees in terms of protection? So again, just to put the spotlight on privacy technologies, what is the significance of them and how they can help you not only achieve your business objectives, but they also help you appreciate your consumers' privacy.
Right. Very interesting. Can I just label it as a privacy preserving?
Yes, so privacy preserving or privacy enhancing technologies. Those are the two keywords.
Yeah, and we will come back to talk about that further into detail later. Anyone else? Because I think, well, technology part is one of the approach that you can use, but I believe that there are the sort of organizational side of it as well, which you mentioned about, especially at the higher level than the data itself. Anyone want to jump in? Within organization, what else can you think about when you have to work with both AI and privacy, and you want to sort of strike a balance there?
Right. I think from the legal perspective, well, first of all, we all know that AI is new around the globe. Everyone's probably learning the same thing at the same time around the world. Therefore, as it's very new, there's no precedent at the moment what you can do and what you cannot do. Plus, we are learning about the technology itself, how it will grow, the risk going to come, what's going to happen. I think one thing that we can do is documentation. So basically, is the same concept that we have in Thailand and also under the EU AI Act as well. So AI governance model would be something that we might recommend. Basically, when you're going to implement any AI, you either at the very beginning step build your own, who you are, or implement AI from other company. You might want to check what kind of AI it is, what's the risks going to happen, who's going to be in charge, how you're going to deal with the risk, what could be the worst scenario that could happen, and how you're going to deal with that. And once you do that, you document it. When you document, under the legal term, basically, you show your intention to comply with the law. You show your intention that you try to mitigate the risk that could come up from the tort, from the data privacy perspective, or even the risks from around the world, the compliance around the world, the GDPR, the Singapore Data Act, or whatever. So I think that's a simple concept that I would like to say. Be more specific. So for example, if you're going to do the training data, make sure you know the source of the data. How are you going to get it? Are you going to collect it by yourself? Or are you going to ask a third-party vendor who already have those data, those character, those data set for you to use? And then I would recommend write clearance. Make sure that is clear enough. Make sure that is clean under the law. Even sometimes they say that it's not personal data anymore. You might want to double check. Again, back to the basic. If they collect from many sources, eventually under the same big data set, you might still be able to identify that person. So how are you going to deal with the personal data in that scenario? For the data input, after that, you might still get like personal data come out. How are you going to deal with that? I want to talk about repurposing as well. When you collect the data, you might use it for your own organization. You can rely on other legal basis, contractual basis, legitimate interest basis. But once you're going to use for AI, make sure that you check again if you can, which one that you're going to use. And then again, document it. So that's how you deal with the like sort of risk mitigation basis. In terms of balancing, I guess data minimization is still the best concept that you can have right now at the moment. If you know what kind of AI that you're developing or using, you will know. You can ask your data science team, your lawyers, how much data do you actually need to collect, just to make sure that there will not be any data spillover, meaning that you collect data from someone that you don't actually use it and turn out to be your risk at the end of the day, you know. Once you correct the data that you're not going to use, if there any data breach incident happen, it could cause, you know, risk in terms of the law perspective and civil liability back to you as well. So I think that's the way of designing the data used in your organization would be something that you might want to look at. Another thing is you might want to engage executive and any stakeholders in your company to talk about this. It's not about lawyer anymore. It's not about IT or AI data science. It could be relevant to your HR, business planning, engage everyone and see the risks and you know, walk through the future together. What going to happen, then you know someone will know and try to solve it together with you.
You wanna come in here, please?
I will add more a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about how to balance between using AI for the business benefit of the company and how to not invade the privacy of the people, right? I think first of all, 101, the starting point is we need to use AI ethically, the ethic of how to use AI, the AI governance, responsible AI. I think it should start from the privacy by design. If you design the application and you design with the privacy at the first stage that you building the system or building the app, I think it's quite really crucial for the people to use the application because you privacy by design, right? The second, I think as the previous speaker said, you use data minimally. Data minimalization, you try to use data as we want to use it, right? Not collect it all, everything. And for the legal basis, a lot of basis, I think in Europe a few years ago, all the platforms that try to use legitimate interest, not correct, and they have been filed the GDPR file that it not should be the legitimate interest, but it should be the consent, and it must be the explicit consent, if we can do, right? If we can do explicit consent, okay. When you went to Europe, I give you the example, you landing on the Munich airport, Charles airport, all the airport in Europe, when you open your phone, you use a Google, and they will pop up that Google will use and collect your data, and you can choose allow or not allow, right? And it is your consent that you can yes or no. But in Thailand, they just open Google and Google it. And that's why the legal, the regulation, the regulator must understand this, that it's really important that we need to enforce the law so for the platform that if you want our data, it's fine, but you should do the explicit consent. It's good for them that they show their AI governance and it's good for branding and good for good feeling about the customer to use the product also. That's what I want to add on this topic.
Well, thank you very much. I love it when you say by design. I think that is something that you imagine about the period that PDPA was sort of at its early enforcement period. We know that this word was still there, by design, but it seems like, later and later on, people just, try to comply with on the just paper and document a lot of them just design and just forgot the fact that actually this thing is more efficient and also more effective to be by design, right? And you talk about AI to be privacy preserving or privacy protected by design, which is actually in line with the implementation of the PDPA itself as well, right? When you think about the unit of analysis of it, which is pretty much the activity, and if training the data, as Gun Patrapan said, is pretty much one of the activities that your company is doing. Well, it's pretty much it's just natural that it has to be complying with the PDPA anyway from the very beginning. So the terms by design is really important as well. And I think we have touched upon this already, but let's sort of dig deeper into it a bit. Because as we see, not just in Thailand, but in this region, we don't have that AI regulation yet. But we do have these personal data protection regulation and law in place. And I think we have touched upon so many areas under which, AI itself as the activity would be falling under the scope of personal data protection as well. Is there anything else? When it comes to this protection of the personal data protection law that, the development or the deployment or any process within the pipeline or the AI would get benefit from, in the given infrastructure that we have now? Yeah.
All right, sure. Thank you, Khun Yok. So let me give you the big overview of the legal landscape at the moment then. So basically we have the existing law around the world, generally covering IP, intellectual property, as you say, basically copyright, That's the key one that already exists. Data privacy around the world with the unique nature that has an extraterritorial applicability. Not even PDPA, EU GDPR, Singaporean, many countries have extraterritorial applicability, meaning that even you're not in that country, it could apply to you. So that's the data law. And we also have tort. If you do something wrong to anyone, you could be penalized as well. And you also have Product Liability Act. So if the AI product has something wrong with that, the inventor, the developer could be liable for that one. So those are mainly like key existing law that we already have. Then we're talking about AI law. I think around the world, the current trend could be separated into 3 types. First is Comprehensive AI Act, meaning that an act that governs all types of AI and have like enforcement all over the countries. So in that sense, we see in the first one, EU AI Act. It just come out. The first one going to be, it's like the effective date going to be 6 months, and then depending on the type of the risk, but generally 2 years. Those the effective date that would apply to private sectors. So in the next couple of years, EU AI Act will be enforced and could affect anyone that developing AI product to be used in the EU country. So therefore, even you are in Thailand and try to develop something, and you plan your business to offer in the EU, you might consider complying as of now. Otherwise, your investment could be gone, right? You cannot sell. So that's the comprehensive one that we've seen. Then we have 2, sector-specific or product-specific kind of legislation. We've seen that one in China. So they have the law effective already on generative AI. The mindset could be a little bit different. The mindset of China, I'll talk about that later on, but then the mindset of each area of the world have different type. And also US as well. US has some like federal law that governing training data or the use of AI in certain circumstances, but very specific. And then last, soft law, basically guidelines. Around the world, in many countries around the world have guidelines. Even in Thailand, we have the governance guidelines, so many guidelines. The one that I would recommend is ETDA one. It's quite clean. It's first global one. But I would like to talk about the general view at the moment. So if you're talking about the EU, the trend of regulation is more like prohibit before you do it, or actually see what's going to happen. In the US, different. So they wait and see the innovation first. If there are any problem coming up, then they issue a law to solve that specific problem. So the mindset would be innovation first. China, in the middle, for us, what I see, they basically have the set of regulation on generative AI, the one that they think is crucial, and tackle it first, but not oversize it. So just only what necessary at the moment, very light touch. We've seen a lot of cases coming up as well in the US, Europe, and also China. The way that they treat it differently too. For Thailand, I think we at the early stage as well. The current trend, the current plan of the law would be issuing guidelines before the real regulations. And then I want to talk about something about the soft law then, because they're not effective yet. The soft law that I would like to talk about is the key one that companies around the world might want to take a look at. If you follow this one, pretty much you know what you're doing, and then could be in line with the global trend. So it's OECD guidelines. They're talking about how you're going to treat the data. FIPS, Fair Information Practice. This is also a good one. Under this too, they lay out like common principle of how you treat the data. First, data minimization, use and collection, limitation, use, limitation, safeguard of security, notice, and openness. we have data privacy law in Thailand, so we need to give the data privacy notice at the moment. Now we are going to talk about, do you need an AI privacy policy too? To be transparent and talk what you're doing with the AI in your organization. Access of individual, accountability, purpose specification, data quality and relevance. So those are big concepts that you can follow under the soft law at the moment. So hope you see like the big picture of what's going on in the world.
Well, thank you. Can I ask a follow-up question on this before we go to a little bit into detail in the techniques? Can I claim that given the, if your concern is just on privacy, is existing regulation like PDPA or GDPR in Europe sufficient to deal with artificial intelligence, whatever kind it is? If your concern is only on privacy, is this enough to have just PDPA, or we should have something particular on not just privacy but also AI-related privacy? Do we need something else there?
Right.
Or it's okay to just have PDPA here?
It's a very good question. I just went to Europe a few weeks ago and do the training on AI and data. So basically, I think they're still talking about this. That's the good news. We are ahead of the curve, probably, that we have this session. So it's very new. People are still talking about that. My personal opinion is that if you have existing law that very specific to something, I think that's enough. But the way to interpret it, the law, that's another question. So you could use the existing law for Thailand's PDPA, and then apply it to AI, and then see how you're going to apply to AI. Another one, if even you have the existing law, you create a new path on specifically for AI, how you can use the law, but work around the existing one. I think under the EU AI Act, they touch on data GDPR as well, but basically they're saying that they endorse GDPR. So if you do the AI under the law, then please do it under GDPR. They touch slightly on how to deal with the data, but not as much. So for me, I think for Thailand, we very new with the PDPA for a while, but still new so many people. AI is still new as well. Then we might want to talk about AI and data in Thai context. If we talk about the EU or other countries, they probably flame themselves as the developer. But in Thailand, who are we then? Are we developer? Are we implementator? Are we deployer? Who we are? And then you can talk about the context in Thailand, how the data law could support the innovation, support the use of AI. We cannot run away from AI. It's coming and coming fast. It can help a lot. But then how to promote AI, and then people can, comfortably using AI as well.
Right. Anyone want to comment?
Yeah, I'll add a few thoughts. So I think, as you were mentioning a while ago, regulations is about regulating activities, not technology. So when we look at the data level, that's where you have data protection regulations. To briefly summarize them, it's about data acquisition, data management, data retention. That's it. It's a lot of things, but if you can briefly summarize them or put them in these three buckets. When we talk about AI, it's a branch out in data management. Actually it follows the whole cycle, but it's a way of how do you use this data to build an application. Now, the challenges there could be twofold as well. When we look at data as data and apply some privacy technologies, it gets transformed, and it is privacy or privacy preserving data, for example. Now, when you use the same data to train an AI algorithm, there is a concept called overfitting, where the model can still memorize instead of learning the original data itself. And when you train a model this way and then generate something out of it, there is a chance that it can spit out the same data sets. It happened with the Korean employees at Samsung when they used ChatGPT. So it's the same case. input data is regulated by privacy laws, but AI regulations regulate how the training of the algorithm happens. And in both of these angles, privacy leakage can still happen, which is why having the same guideline for both aspects, in my opinion, from a technology perspective, is not sufficient. Yeah.
Can I add something? So I've done some homework. Actually, my team done some homework, and I want to share with you about the EU AI Act and the data GDPR. So basically, EU AI Act saying under the Article 10. That's so nerd. But here's the thing. You always remember that you cannot use the data. But under the EU AI Act, actually break through certain obstacle. They're saying that you can use sensitive data to prevent bias. So basically, you can see like the type, the ethic, and use that data to make sure that your AI will not do the bias. That's against the main concept, right? You need consent to use sensitive data, but no. So answer to you, and also like they're talking about if you're going to use the AI, the data for AI, you need different set of system to make sure that the security going to be okay. Emotional recognition should be processed according to the GDPR. To answer your question, I think PDPA should be okay, should suffice. But if we're going to have like a guidelines on how to use it, or anything that exempt the PDPA, then probably real legislation might need it. But then we need wait and see how the business go in Thailand as well.
Right. Mr. Prinya, you want to?
I want to summarize your question about the law enforcement. I think we should separate into two parts. There are many countries around the world that didn't have the PDPA or privacy law. That's why the lack of the law, creating the law, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about the country that has been establishment the law already, like our country, China, Europe, or even Singapore. And that's why probably not about the law. It's probably about the law enforcement that we do really enforcement the law. Let's say we do like a GDPR file Europe, right? In Thailand, PDPA, we never find anyone yet. Zero case. And maybe in a few days, we have the first case to find someone. And I think the penalty and the real enforcement, it will be incentivize the company to strengthen their privacy policy. And at the same time, they should do about the security also. I think the problem is about the security, not only privacy. My professor used to say about you can get security without privacy, but you can't get privacy without security. The problem in Thailand is about the security, not enough, right? When security breach, the data breach, ransomware, when they lost their data leak, data breach, and finally they have a problem with the privacy. And that's why we're not talking about strengthen privacy law only, we need going back into the cyber law, cyber security. And we need to think the cyber security as a foundation. Like we need to do ISO 27001 as the foundation, and we extension into the ISO 27701 that privacy information management system is coming later on top of the security. In my question is to think that enforce the law, giving them real penalty. And the second one is we come back to the basic about how to strengthen our cyber security in our organization. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree that enforcement is an important part of it. Thank you very much. And I sort of saw your sort of a little bit, not really disagreement, but when it comes to regulation, my previous question was whether the existing personal data protection regulation or act suffice to protect even in the context of AI or not, right? And Chavez, you wanna say something about it?
Another thought on it. So not a disagreement. It's complementing. So with data protection laws, everything is about privacy. But when we talk about AI, privacy is just one input.
Yeah.
The second one is let's say when we talk about ethics, when we talk about bias, when we talk about explainability, all of these apply on the algorithms because these are black boxes. If they say someone should get a loan versus someone should not get a loan, the company has to explain why that is the case. But when it comes to explaining these algorithms, right now these are black boxes. Like you can't explain deep learning models, let alone large language models. So when we look at AI, we're not just looking at privacy, we are looking at ethics, we're looking at bias, we're looking at a lot of other things, which is why data protection regulations are called data protection regulations for protection, but AI regulations are called AI regulations because they touch upon a lot of other things as well. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, of course. That's why I put it from the very beginning that suppose that we focus only on the privacy side of it. But of course, yes, there are other aspects as well. And so I think the devil is in the detail as well. I mean, you all talk about this whole implementation process of the personal data protection. I mean, both from on the privacy and also on the security side of it. And I know that when it comes to incentive, that's one thing. And that is why you have this whole sort of sanctions and mechanism in place to provide this sort of incentive that people would think about it and care about this privacy protection. And I know that one thing that probably very particular when it comes to artificial intelligence is that given that you have an incentive, now you know that you need to preserve or protect this kind of privacy rights or personal data rights of people. I want to start with this sort of technological side of it. We know that there are so many techniques, so many approaches that have been developed in recent decades to basically execute the data usage in such a way that it could be privacy preserving. To name but a few, like differential privacy, federated training, in which you provide noise in it first, and the latter is you just split the places where you train the data. But I know that there are many more. So just can you, I mean, you say you are an expert in this area.
Sure, happy to.
Can you provide a little bit more, like put us in perspective here? How, because this is very unique when it comes to artificial intelligence as well. How does it work? What exactly it is, and what is the state of the art of these technologies or approaches at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So when we talk about privacy technologies, if I explain them in just one sentence, or two words actually, they simply mean adding noise. Like that's it. How much noise you add and how you add noise is where all technologies differ. But privacy technologies is just about adding noise in the right way at the right time. Plain and simple. But when we look at the industry, for the last 20 years, something called data anonymization has been widely used. I'm assuming most of us, or pretty much all of us, know what anonymization is. It's simply a concept of where you have some data, you destroy some piece of information in it to protect privacy and preserve or still preserve some utility in the data sample still. A very easy example is my face. So you can see my face right now. I am Uzair. My privacy is fully exposed. This is me. But anonymization is simply this. So I've put my hand on my face. All you can see is half my face. Now, if a new person walks in, will they recognize me? No. But they can still see there is a face behind this hand. You may have seen the iPhone ads as well, where they have the phone in front of their face and they have written privacy as a very big keyword, using it as a brand differentiator. So that's your anonymization in a nutshell. It has been in the market for the last 20 years. Everyone knows how it works. Legal, non-legal, technical, non-technical. It's a pretty established concept. So that's one case when we talk about privacy technologies. When we go further a bit, in the last 10 years, we have encryption-based technologies as well for processing data. Now, within encryption-based technologies, there is something called homomorphic encryption. There is something called private set intersection. There is something called secure multi-party compute. There is something called zero-knowledge proofs. A lot of things. But point being, they take your data, they encrypt it, and then after encryption, you can still run some analysis. And encryption is a lock and key mechanism. You lock the data, and then you have a key to open it. Whoever has the key can open it. Now, if that person is authorized, good. If unauthorized, bad news. A breach can happen. So that's where we have encryption-based technologies. Very useful these days, picking up a lot as well as we continue into the future. So that's the second aspect of it. The third aspect is synthetic data. Synthetic data simply means if we use AI as well as non-AI models to take real data and then generate artificial data from it. So again, for synthetic data, my face is the example. If we use my face, train an AI model, the model will understand how to make a face. And after training, I can ask the model to give me or generate me another face. This is how deepfakes work. You may have seen videos on YouTube, someone who's not Tom Cruise, but they put Tom Cruise's face on top of them. So pure and simple, that's the idea of synthetic data. Given any data you have ways to generate artificial data from it. But artificial data, since it's artificial, you no longer need to worry about privacy, or you no longer need to worry about who it belongs to. Now that is something that has been picking up, or the tech landscape around synthetic data has been advancing since the last 5 years. It all kind of got kickstarted with deepfakes, but now it is becoming a very crucial factor when we talk about enterprise machine learning, or the increase of privacy laws, then how companies can protect data while building their businesses and generating more and more revenue. So just to zoom out, we started with anonymization. Everyone knows it. It's about destroying information. And differential privacy is actually a part of a way of anonymizing data, widely accepted by big companies. Plain and simple, it's also about adding noise, but the way it adds noise, it has a very defined framework, but the concept is the same. You add noise, you destroy information, you preserve some statistics. So that's the first layer, anonymization. The second layer we talked about is encryption. When we encrypt data, it gives you full privacy, but in terms of analyzing encrypted data, there are some technologies that allow you to do it, but many technologies that allow you not to do it. So there are many forms of encrypted technologies that after you encrypt the data, the encrypted data is useless. Like you cannot do anything with it. But then there are some technologies who encrypt the data for you, but you can still use encrypted data for your analysis. So that's the distinction with encryption technologies. And the third one is where we have synthetic data. And that's where it is picking up because of everything that is happening within the AI space. We are seeing large language models, we are seeing transformer models, we are seeing extended LSTMs, we are seeing GAN deep learning models. So a lot of activity is happening, or the models have become so realistic that simply by looking at the data, they are able to generate data. We all have used ChatGPT. When ChatGPT responses to our question, it feels quite real, right? It feels like a real person is answering our questions. So the same idea here is with synthetic data when we talk about this technology. Federated learning, as you mentioned, is also one of the technologies, but it's a way of how you train the models. So federated technology works when you have many sources of data, but they are in different locations. So Google does it with our phones. Google has their master model in the cloud, which predicts the next keyword when we are typing. I think we all are familiar with the use case. When we use keyboards on our phone, after a few days, the phone remembers what type of words we type. And as a next word suggestion, it can show that word to us after some time, maybe a week, a few days, or 2 weeks. So what happens is Google has Android, and Android is being run on our phones. Our typing is what trains our local model on the phone, and then After training, these parameters or weights of the model are sent to Google on the cloud. And Google does this with millions of devices. It aggregates these weights, it updates their master model, and then pushes back this master model back to your phone. That is why you have monthly updates on your phone, because a lot of stuff is coming. And people are happy because their phone or their products or electronic devices are up to date with new tech. So federated learning is also there, but it's just one way to train or how you handle scenarios where you have many, many sources of technology. But broadly speaking, we started with anonymization, we landed on encryption, now we have synthetic data. And from a commercial perspective, when we talk about non-machine learning use cases, you can use anonymization, you can use encryption. But when we talk about machine learning use cases, that's where synthetic data is the only viable solution. So depending on what you want to do with your data, different technologies or a set of different technologies may apply, which is why there is no Bible out there which says for your privacy use case, just use this technology and life is good. It is very subjective to what you want to do, what data you have, and then what the end KPIs or success criteria is.
Well, very interesting. Yeah, and you end the very last part at a very curiosity that I had as well. And I really want to address to not just only you, Sir, but all of the panelists as well. Well, when it comes to these kind of techniques, it's kind of like, if I may, one extra step, right? That you introduce in the pipeline, and that means cost, right? On many fronts. We sort of know that one way that you're gonna incentivize firms to incur additional costs is that you have another set of costs, like sanctioned from the enforcement of the law, that you violate personal rights or privacy rights of people. Well, that's just one thing. Okay, we set that aside for now. But can you just give a little bit more in terms of like on the positive incentive of it? Because I believe that if you say that, look, all of these ways are just like some extra steps without really benefits, but it's just the way that you preserve privacy. And because the law says that you have to preserve privacy, probably that is not sufficient, and I don't think that is the only reason. Can we talk a little bit more on the positive side of it?
Sure.
Yeah.
So again, when we talk about regulations, I strongly believe if we take regulations out of the picture, to be very honest, no corporate would care about privacy. I have a very strong feeling on it. And again, if we assume there are no privacy regulations out there, privacy technologies wouldn't be top of mind today as well, because it's not a problem. So when we talk about the upside here, there are two conflicting requirements that businesses have to manage. As users, we don't care, to be honest. Again, if someone tells us, you know, I'm giving you a free product, free service, give me your personal data, I mean, we are just like, oh yeah, sure, take it. If someone says, here's a $2 or, I don't know, 1,000 baht coupon, give me your medical history, I think all of us can assume like maybe 3-4 out of 10 people are usually okay with it. It's quick money, take my data, I'm gone. So as users, we don't think, to be honest. But when we give someone the data, there is a mutual, subconscious, inherent agreement that I'm giving you my data and I trust you to protect it, even if it is not explicitly said. But that expectation is just there. So the main upside is not on the user side, but it is on the business side. Because businesses have to do two things. Businesses collect user data, they have to protect it. But in doing so, they have to run the business as well. They have to generate revenue, they have to make money, otherwise they will die. Now, when it comes to making money, let's say all of my revenue is dependent on data. Real data is the ground truth. If I can use real data 100% as it is, that's the best ideal case, no problem. Then it's fine. And as I mentioned, if there are no privacy regulations, this works, end of story. You don't need to change anything. But here we are today, there are regulations we have to comply. So businesses have another headache that we are making money, but we have to stay compliant as well. And in staying compliant, they have user expectations to manage. Even if they comply in a very shady or closed way, if the user sentiment is bad with a brand, they will stop using that brand. Which is why iPhone right now uses the word privacy, the keyword privacy a lot, because they are trying to say, you know, our devices are the most secure, we protect your privacy, you don't have to worry about XYZ, so on and so forth. But when we look at Facebook, whatever they say, right, we know they're stealing our data. Like, whatever they say openly in the market, they abuse our data. There have been so many scandals every now and then. To me, to be honest, whatever they say, I don't believe it. I'm pretty sure they're abusing our data as of today as well, which is why, or how they have built their business model. So when we look at businesses, a very fine or a very nice way to manage these two contradictory statements, making money and then protecting user interests or protecting their privacy, is where you have a framework which is defined by privacy laws, and then you have the technology part of it, which answers how to do it.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, I think that's just to reinforce why we are all sitting here with PDPC. Okay, let's talk about, well, I think we have mentioned about this sort of soft law. We mentioned about, we suppose now we don't have the sort of hard regulation in place yet. We do have privacy related regulation, which is the PDPA. And so many companies here are either developing or using AI. So are there any kind of like ethical considerations that, well, if you would give the organizations who are sitting here or back home to sort of bear in mind when you process, especially personal data, in order to, I mean, either developing your artificial intelligence or when you're using it, are there any kind of considerations that you would suggest as a key takeaways from the session? Yeah.
Please show my slide, please.
Yeah.
I want to emphasize what previous speaker said about the federated learning. And Dr. Yok mentioned about two half technology, right? The first one is federated learning and a differential privacy. I want to explain in easy wording for the Thai people to understand that federated learning is then their machine learning not centralize all the data in their server, okay? Let's say Apple, they just released Apple AI. They try to stay away from the wording AI for a long time, but right now they said Apple Intelligence. And the Apple Intelligence, all the data, even Microsoft, they put into the local device. All the data put into the local device. That the machine learning can retrieve the data and analyze and doing the AI job without sending the data through all the centralized server. Like blockchain, then decentralize the data that we can make sure that the data is on our device. And that's why I feel very confident to use iPhone from now if they use the AI technology with me. Because I didn't want to send my data to the server, right? It's called the federated learning. And another keyword that Dr. Yok mentioned is really good. It's called differential privacy. That they inject the noise, the data into the real data. They inject something into the data that all the machine learning, the AI, and all, let's say the advertiser, they cannot fully understand the real raw data, but they will understand only approximately is 150% of the 200% like this, love to go to this food, to this restaurant, but they cannot figure out the real person. And then that's why I think it should combine two benefits together with differential privacy and federated learning together. And Apple said, actually the differential privacy used for Microsoft for the first time. After that, Google, Apple, they try to follow up. and they try to come into this way. The question that it benefit for them or not, I think make sure that they can benefit from the advertising engine for sure, and they can continue to pass through the TVR and PDPC, right? Okay, I come back into your question that key takeaway about the ethical issue, right? Ethical issue. I want to summarize the privacy risk that we can have something to take away from this room that I can summarize as a significant privacy risk that Dr. Yok mentioned earlier from the data breach, right? Data breach and data sometimes misuse and unauthorized access, as the speaker said, and sometimes the lack of transparency. The big issue right now we call AI explainabilities. Have you ever heard about the XAI? They call explainable AI. Let's say we ask all you guys in this room that you think ChatGPT is an explainable AI or not? The answer is not explainable AI. It cannot explain everything for you guys, right? Even they cannot explain why Sam Altman out from CEO. After that 3 days, they come back to be the CEO, right? And the XAI is really important that we need to further on this topic. And the bias, as a speaker from the Baker magazine said that the data that have to train the AI, right? Sometimes they bias, they discriminate. Data is very important that the raw data before putting into the machine learning is very, very important. And the profiling, surveillance, let's say in China, they have a case like it, but they're doing quite very well for the country. Inadequate data anonymization, that sometimes we cannot fully anonymize or pseudonymize. Let's say advertiser, they say they anonymize, but finally they know I'm the Palinya, I love to play guitar, and that's a problem. Insufficient data protection regulation. Sometimes data protection regulation is sufficient, but the enforcement, the penalty is not sufficient. And I will answer the question of Dr. Yok that for the ethical issue, we should talking about the mitigation strategy that privacy by design and many things that I have been mentioned earlier. But the last question that Dr. Yok mentioned is about what are the key ethical considerations, right? And I should keep in mind that when we developing and deploy generative AI in our organization, what should we think and care or set the policy? I will summarize into the 10 topics that I think the first of all, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Yok, is security. And if you forget about the data protection, you cannot say that you do ethical AI because you don't have the budget to protecting your information. You want to safeguard on the cyber security, not the ethical way, right? The second, as I mentioned earlier, transparency and explainable AI. Sometimes explainable and sometimes it cannot explain. And we need to talk about it later in another seminar, another topic. Fairness, non-discrimination, accountability and responsibility, and purpose and usefulness. The new topic that really hot right now in the world is repurposing. Sometimes what the real purpose when using AI to evade the privacy, purpose is not making the money, but to serve the customer, to be nice to the world, to be nice to the customer. That's why we need to repurpose sometimes. Legal regulation must be strengthened because we cannot say, okay, no file is okay. We cannot say like that anymore, right? Human oversight, social impact, user autonomy and control. And finally, back to the basic ethical design principle. Yeah, if Apple use the ethical design principle, I love to use iOS, continue using the iOS. But if they change the topic that not coming into the ethical design principle since Steve Jobs still alive, I will make my mind and change to another platform. This is my answer.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is very comprehensive. I just would like to, before I open the opportunity for the floor to ask questions, allow me to ask one question, because we talked a lot about the way that we use personal data, and that is mainly this sort of overlapping area might be when you train the data a lot. It has to do a lot with the training data. But allow me to take one step back and talk about privacy as a concept, which is a bit larger than the personal data rights. And that will come to this sort of usage of the artificial intelligence as well. I mean, because you mentioned about this surveillance and this kind of like intrusion or penetration into the privacy rights of people. Is there anything that particularly concerning you when it comes to this another side of the story? It's not just about using data or violating personal data rights, but a bit more on the usage of it, especially when it involves this sort of privacy. Yeah. Is there any particular thing that came to your mind?
So let's see. A bit, quite subjective, but when we talk about privacy in itself, I think the global landscape looks like this. In the Americans, like the Americans area, privacy is the right to be left alone. So if I tell you don't call me, you should just not call me. When we talk about Europe, it's a fundamental human right. Which means if you tell a company, don't use my data, they can't use your data because it's your fundamental human right. When we look at Asia, here it's reflected as the right to be anonymous. So no matter what I do, no one should be able to tell it's me. So these are just some notions that are quite reflective of how privacy is taken as in context. But again, just to take a step back here as well, I think at the end of the day, when every one of us are at our home, even if we are in the safest country in the world, we still lock our doors. Why we do that? If you ask yourself, it's because we have this implicit notion of our own privacy, our own space, and how no one can invade that. And I think that just cuts through our personal and professional life, physical as well as metaphysical. So everything we just talked about today has to do with the metaphysical or digital element. But when we think of these same principles, they still hold in the physical world as well. How they work or how they are perceived are again subject to the culture, subject to religion, subject to politics, subject to regions, weather, regulations again. But I think it's just a collection of, I do believe like privacy is just a collection of our own human values, and they kind of dictate how we live by or abide by different rules or different regions or different regulations. So it's still quite an open-ended answer, but just something I could think of, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Just want to share something then. I think I heard one thing that I really like. They saying that AI is just like a kid. So basically, you don't know how they're going to grow up, be a nice person or a bad person, but the way that you groom them is so important. I think when you're talking about that, is no right or wrong, but depending on the type of the AI, what are you going to use? For example, if you're going to use sovereign data from the public, any data in the sense that could play, against your privacy for the purpose of social scoring, meaning that you would entitled to welfare or not depending on your behavior in public. I don't think that makes sense, right? You should not be judged by that. Same as under the EU AI Act, they're treated as prohibited AI. You cannot do it. Limited cases that can do. But then think about this. Autonomous car, autonomous vehicle. If you're talking about privacy too much to the sense that they cannot collect the data of a person that walking around the street, the environment, to train the vehicle to know this is risky, this is not risky, they can go to that area or not that area. That's the person on the side or not the person, disabled person or not, because disabled person might sit on the wheelchair, and then how they're gonna know this? That's a person that they cannot drive through. So I think with the AI, the most fascinating idea is that it's no right or wrong. It basically depends on the purpose that you're going to use, going to groom them, and how you're going to flame them or monitor them to make sure that you act in time before they go wrong. It goes wrong. So for me, it's no right or wrong. It depends on how you're going to use it.
Right, thank you. And this just reminds me of what Dr. Prinya said earlier about the, we all discussed this explainability. And I think it will come back to this consent, right? I think, and also the right to be notified as well. Because we are supposed to understand how our personal data will be used. But even the one who uses the data don't even know how to explain it. Like how exactly our data is going to be used, which part of my data, which feature is going to be used to determine the outcome of certain decision that the model is going to spit out. So that is very, very interesting as well. Right. Should we get some questions from the floor? Anyone would like to ask the speakers? Oh yeah, this lady in the back, please. You can ask a question in any language, actually, to be noted.
Thank you so much for such an eye-opening session. As we understand that in the absence of the regulations specifically concerning about the AI, and I think one of the speakers mentioned that one of the best solutions that we can do right now is documentation, as it shows our intention to trying to protect the privacy of the individuals. I was wondering, as this is like very new to us all, and I understand that the small and medium-sized organization tend to engage the third-party AI. So when we have to assess the
Sorry, you might want to put the mic
when we
a bit
have to
closer.
assess the kind of like trustworthy of that third-party AI, is there any certain like documentations or certifications that we have to look for as the the organization that about to engage that AI?
Very good questions. I can take that one. Okay. So basically, when you're talking about the documentation, I think there's two sides. First of all, from my experience, I've seen some companies start using AI for HR. So they help you reorganize the company, put the people to the right place, and also at the same time, promote or not promote certain person. So for example, if you start doing that, then our suggestion would be, it could give like pros and cons, and also legal consequences dispute based on the employment issues as well. Therefore, you might want to take a look at the AI, what it does, how could it impact your company, and then the risks, a possible risk. I would recommend you to identify a person to be responsible for that AI monitoring. If something goes wrong, it's not correct, then you have like some sort of measure on how to tackle them, put it on a paper, and then revisiting from time to time. So that's your company, what you can do. It's called AI governance model. The big framework would be you have your own much more big picture. As a company, you can have like AI principle, talking about transparency, how you're going to adopt AI, how do you make sure that it's not going to bias or affect the company's reputation whatsoever. And then you might have AI policy for certain specific type of AI, like for AI policy for using generative AI. How much you're going to allow your company employee to use ChatGPT or Gemini, so that you can have that too, and AI committee. I've seen some companies start doing like have an AI committee sitting at the same as data committee to monitor what's going on. And then you have like AI assessment on certain type of the product, document it and revisit it. That's how you make sure that your company has AI governance. The team could be consist of lawyer, IT, or even compliance or HR or any specific team and talk about that, work together. So and document it. From our experience before the the PDPA coming out, we don't know the precedent in Thailand either. We don't know how it's going to be like, what they're going to interpret legitimate interest, how far they're going to go. One of the things that I have done is documented. When we talk in the meeting with the clients, like why you choose this legal basis, we document it. The reason why, the business practice, the business reason to support that, and then revisit it after the enforcement of the PDA. For example, we use that actually in the any argument that coming up later on, dispute later on. That's the one side. Another side, if you're going to engage any vendor that provide the AI for you, it's hard for you to go and do like due diligence on the product itself. It's not going to be easy, but you might want to check the licensing agreement or the user agreement on at least on the liability or indemnification, right? They're probably going to give you some comfort that they already considering compliance before, and then you use it. I think some ISO certification could be used too, but it's not that general. Eventually, it depends on the type of the AI. With the licensing, indemnification, liability, due diligence, your vendor, make sure you have those clauses on the agreement and have your own AI governance model for your company. To treat it, as of now that we don't have the law, we have soft law, and we could be subject to the law in other countries as well. I think that's the best we can do at the moment.
Anyone want to add, like, this is a best practice you should do in the meantime? Like, yes, please.
Please show the slide, please. I think the key takeaway for my session today with our speaker, I think we're facing the risk, right? The privacy risk in AI is real, right? Very real, very serious that sometimes they invade that, but we don't know that AI invade our privacy. And as a developer, as a product owner, as a platform, and as a user, user have their role, and the platform also have their role also, right? And the mitigation strategy must be implemented in the organization. First, start from the privacy by design. I think is very important. As I mentioned earlier, always 3 times, 4 times is you need to enhance your data security measure and back into the data governance framework, data security, data privacy, data encryption, data pseudonymization, all the technique that you can implement to protect privacy of your customer. And implement of robust data governance, AI governance. Data governance has been in Thailand for a long time, but AI governance quite new. And we need to understand EDDA, they do a guideline for AI governance. EDDA, DGA, all the government organizations they try to mention about the AI governance. Number 4, we need to promote transparency and accountability. And we can move into what I call the explainable AI, that we can explain all how we use AI, how affect to your privacy, how we use your data, quite transparency to the customer and the user. And we need to foster our public awareness and education for the user and customer to understand more how the product using the AI technology. And finally, we need to collaborate with the regulator and industry peer, right? Not only the regulator, everyone must join, right? Like public, private, all the stakeholders must join together to benefit all, to all mutual benefit with the product, with all the stakeholders that they can use AI effectively and efficiently. And finally, I want to give you the keyword that you need not to be afraid that AI will replace you. I think AI not replace you, but people that they have the skill using the AI will replace that people that cannot use the AI. And that's why when you're going out from this room, I think you must try ChatGPT or Claude or Anthropic or many AI tools right now. Many are LLM from the Hugging Face, and you should try, you play with it. You will deep more understanding about the AI technology as you understand to using the smartphone many years ago. Right now, it's not the smartphone era, but it's an AI era that we need to play to use it. And when you use it, you will more understand it. And you will understand more about the regulator, the platform, and the application developers also. ครับ
Thank you very much. Is there any question, Ravind? Oh, actually, yes, please. This gentleman in the middle.
I guess that will be the last questions here. I think I have a comment to share rather than a questions. After listening to all of this, which is very good, but we tend to get so excited with new technologies that we forget some of the few basic things. So with the questions asking, what can we do now to enhance all of this AI impacted work to get it done right? There are a few basic things that us as a DPO in organizations can do, but we seem to forget about this in today's conversations. The law already suffice. We have a data protection impact assessment that we must conduct on complex project like this. We can rely on traditional risk assessment, which is very relatable to people at top executive level to understand what the risks are for the organizations. I don't need to tell them, you're going to break these laws and those laws, you're going to lose profit on this if you don't do it. But we need to use risk assessment to relate to executives to understand what they're about to invest have subsequent implication as well. And they need to decide whether or not they need to take on additional steps. So being a DPO in an organization, attending a conference like today, I think it's very important to remind all of us that we have a duty to speak to our executives to make sure they understand that there is a risk to manage and mitigate, and jumping ahead, get all excited and bring in AI right away without doing all the basic things that we've been trained all along. If you've been in the industry for a few years, I'm sure you've gone through a bunch of different tools that you can use to manage risk. We seem to forget all of these things that we can actually use still and make it work. Now, I'm not going to dispute that we don't need new fancier way of doing assessment for those technology. For sure, we do need those things as well. But we need to do them in order. We identify the risk first, then we go in and do the technological assessment of those technology we bring in. And certainly AI governance need to be part of the organization. Again, this problem isn't new. When 10 years ago, we started taking on new technologies, the CIO and CTO, CTOs and CIOs are the people who head the troop, and then the CEO say, let's go for it, CFO, okay, well, we're gonna make profit on this. Now, DPO has a duty as expected by laws to take actions. So if you're not on the table, I think you're obligated by your legal duty to ensure that you're at the table. That's the first thing that you need to do. Once you're at the table, then you can share with them whatever tools you think will work for your organization, then you bring it on. And then the rest will follow. But if you forget the basic things, as a DPO, as a person responsible for PDPA compliance, your boss not gonna know. He's about to fail certain risks. Your company isn't gonna know. Investing in such actions may have consequences. As one of the speakers have shared today, our CEO probably have forgotten that by designing and homegrown AI development, there is a risk on tort law. Whether you do indirect harm or direct harm to another person, you will become liable for that. And I really like your word today, product liability issue. If we, for example, I'm a hospital. If I design an AI solution to help with my patient care cases, and the outcome of the medical care I provided based on the AI predictions is wrong, yes, we will be sued, but my boss doesn't understand that he can also be sued from the fact we are the one who design and implement that AI solution. So thank you for that. That's very good. So I think my comment will just stay here. Thank you.
Echo that. Definitely echo that. From my experience, before the AI actually implementing like widely after the ChatGPT for a few years, when we talking about AI, we're talking about liability, so simple as that. But as of now, from my experience working on AI, the topic becomes so complicated that I could expect that. Like from IP perspective, the tone, the voice, is that copyrightable? That's very new questions in the legal industry. Or even the PDPA, the data, when you put your face like that, no longer personal data, but you see in the background, and I'm the only one that's sitting here. You still know who I am. So that's the new questions as well. Not a part of this IP, the thought, the bias, the feeling of the person of using, your reputation as a producer as well. So I think there's so many risks that you have to talk, and it's not that foreseeable at the moment. You need to brainstorm. You need to talk about the possible risks. If you use like HR, definitely you can manage the person better. But then how about the employment dispute that's gonna come afterwards? If you're gonna do automated the vehicle, at the end of the day, it sounds good, but if it clash into someone or kill someone, how are you gonna deal with that? So I think those are the risks that you need to know your AI, know what you're dealing with. You cannot run away, but you can learn and get to know them. Once you know, you can manage the risk and find a way to control it under your decision. I think there's so many risks, there's so many ways to deal with it, but you can decide the way to deal with it, the AI governance model to deal with your company. There's no one size fit all, but it has to fit your company, fit what you're doing. So you can navigate from that, and then you learn how to grow with it. I think that's something that very important.
John, I want to emphasize in his comment. I think I totally agree with him. And when I one of the team that drafting the law a long time ago, many years ago, we discussed about the DPIA, Data Protection Impact Assessment, because they mentioned in the GDPR article. But finally, in the last minute, we remove it. We remove the DPIA from our PDPA. And like we remove the lead assessment from the ISO 27001. It's a big thing, right? All the ISO stuff is starting from the lead assessment. Now, all the thing in our life is the lead assessment, lead management, risk mitigation. And that's why you want to start BCM, you do BIA, start ISO 27000 when you do lead assessment. You want to implement the privacy, even in the AI era, the data protection impact assessment, or using the AI impact assessment. Let's say I want to do LLM, local LLM in my organization. What is the impact of that when I invest 10 million baht, but after that 1 month, I lost my money because what they cannot do, they can do right now. And all the risks that we're facing from starting from the implementation, gathering the data, using it comes back into the risk assessment. And that's why if our law right now doesn't mention about the DPIA, but I strongly recommend if you have budget, have resource, have time, have people, you can start from the data protection impact assessment for that. You will more understand. The good thing is when your executive, board of director, decision maker see the impact of the risk, they will give the budget and they will, I need to commit to solve this problem. They need to emphasize their leadership, and that's why it's important that we need to do risk assessment, risk management anyway.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I completely agree. Just for those who might want to at least get this translated version, we do have a chapter in the Thailand Data Protection Guidelines talking about DPIA as well. It might be of some use to you. All right. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay. Any last few words from any of you?
Sure. So I'll just conclude with the fact that when we think about privacy, it's unfair to say privacy of 100 people is better than privacy of one. The principle has to be privacy of one is privacy for all. So whatever you decide or whatever you build, the fundamentals have to reflect this. One for all is how every protocol should be, not the other way around. So yeah.
Thank you.
For me, I think I would like to share my experience doing the data and also AI. I think that in the past, we're talking about compliance, very, very straightforward from the law. So doing the privacy policy, doing the consent. But my experience right now, once we have the AI, the issue getting much more complex than before. And is not only like one size fit all, again, that word, that you can use this way or not that way. I think a lot of understanding toward the use of the data, the nature of the technology, the possibility of the risks that are going to happen. Sometimes you need, at the moment, I think we need to understand it deeply before making a conclusion of what actually right or wrong, and then learn from that. Once you see the result, then we can talk in the public in a more sense. Try to talk about it as much as you can. Give feedback a lot, what you're thinking, because it's very new, and I think everyone's opinions matter. In terms of the law, in Thailand, I think they try to make a draft law on AI. Another question for me is how much the innovation in Thailand that we would like to protect or support. The law should fit that picture. AI going to help you a lot. Data law going to help you a lot. We can make a lot of use and boost the economies in Thailand. We want to be AI hub, data center hub, cloud hub. Then those related. It's not only one side that you could see. It's much big picture that this technology and our regulation could support that.
For me, I want to bring the good AI quote from the father of AI, Mr. Andrew Ang of Stanford University, that he said the AI is a new electricity. Electricity, we think about the Thomas Alva Edison long time ago, right? Electricity can benefit us, right? Have a lighting right now. Sometimes they can shock us. We can die from the electric shock, right? They can generate the good opportunity, or maybe they are the big threat to our life, to the both sword, right? In Thai we call dab songkom. And we think we need to get the benefit from the bright side of the AI. And finally, at the same time, we need to aware of the threat and something, the dark side of it. And we cannot stay away from the AI anymore. Right now, we with the AI all the time with our smartphone. And we need to take more understanding and saw the benefit side and bring it to benefit our life, save time, productivity tools. They can do many things. But finally, we need to protect ourselves from the threat that somebody want to get the benefit from the AI, their benefit, not our benefit. And that's why you need to pray and start with the AI from today.
Well, thank you very much. So on behalf of the PDPC and Ministry of Digital Economy and Society, I would like to thank you very much, all the speakers, and for your wisdom and knowledge that you share today. And thank you very much, all the audience today, for your participation. So that pretty much concludes the AI impact on data privacy, which is our second session of the day. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
ขอบคุณนะคะ
ขอบคุณครับ
บ๊ายบายขอบคุณนะคะ
A big round of applause for our speakers and our moderator. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. And I have to pass our gratitude to all of them once again, because this is not that normal that we have all together talking about PDPA on this stage here, and this is the first time we have all of them here on the stage. So thank you so much once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our International Conference of PDPA 20 and 24, and we hope that all of you have enriched your knowledge on PDPA from many perspectives. We believe that this PDPA International Conference has not only provided you the increased knowledge on PDPA related legal aspects, but also to showcase our Thai PDPA potential to be on par with international norm and build network of cooperation across the border among PDPA experts of ASEAN. PDPA is committed to disseminating PDPA knowledge to the general public at large to create awareness of the importance of the value of personal data as much as the value of life. We will continue to pursue these tasks not only within the country, but beyond our border to international level. So, at the end of the event, may I ask for your kind cooperation one more time in order to fill in the evaluation form, and other staff will show up the QR code on the screen here. So, if you didn't finish your evaluation form yet, so please scan the QR code one more time. And please don't forget to return your language translator earset in front of the room here with our staff before leaving the event, and please check your belonging as well. So for me, on behalf of PDPC, have to say goodbye for now, but we look forward to seeing you again for the next of other international conference. For me, I have to say goodbye for now until we meet again next time. Thank you ค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ